Endurance Junkie Podcast, Episode 1. Hey Junkie, welcome and thanks for joining me for the very first episode of the Endurance Junkie Podcast. My name is Peter, and on this show I will be interviewing some of the fastest, smartest, and most inspiring people active in the endurance world today. I'm thinking pro and amateur athletes, coaches, race directors, industry experts, brand owners, you name it. If they have anything to do with endurance, they're a possible guest on the show. Now, my goal here on this podcast is to produce a new 30-minute episode 3 times per week, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, to be precise. So for you, this means that on those 3 days, a new episode of the Endurance Junkie Podcast will be waiting to accompany you on your way to the pool, during a windtrainer session, your daily commute, or you can save them all for your weekly long run on Sunday morning. That's your call. Sounds like something you might like? Well, keep listening and I'll tell you all about it in more detail. Like I mentioned before, the aim of the podcast is to interview some of the fastest, smartest, and most inspiring people active in the endurance world today. And here's what you can expect for the first 6 shows. We will start off on Monday, September 1st with the current Ironman World Champion, Frederik van Lierde, followed by CrossFit endurance coach Brian McKenzie on Wednesday and South African run coach Bobby McGee on Friday. The second week lineup consists of Spartan Race founder Joe DeSena on Monday, triathlon coach Matt Steinmetz on Wednesday, and Pure Athlete founder Greg Muller on Friday. Not a bad lineup, right? Now each episode will start with me giving a short introduction of our featured guest, before handing over the mic for a more detailed account. We'll learn where the guest comes from, their sporting history, and how they ended up in the endurance world. We will then jump into the main part of the interview, with topics of course depending on the guest. Now during this part of the interview, I will also give you the chance to ask the guest 1 or 2 questions. So make sure you check out our Facebook page or our upcoming episodes list over on our website, www.endurance-junkie.com/podcast, where you will also have the possibility to submit your questions by simply clicking the link of an upcoming show. We'll then finish the interview with a quick fire round of short questions and answers that will really pick the brain of our guest. Possible questions in this round could be: what's the one swim drill you would recommend to everyone? How do you recover as quickly as possible from your long run? Tell us about a nutrition plan on race day. And I have no doubt that the answers to these questions can and will be of great value to you. Now that I've told you a little bit about the show, I want to talk a bit about my background and share with you why I launched the Endurance Junkie apparel brand and the podcast. So my name is Peter Brees, and I was born and raised just outside of Brussels, Belgium, which sort of explains my English accent. And my parents owned a bakery, and I had the good fortune of growing up in a stable family environment, going to a good school, and trying my hand at multiple sports, like gymnastics, football, tennis, field hockey, judo, and volleyball. I enjoyed all of them, managed to get to a certain level, but I never really quite excelled. Now, when Belgian triathlete Luc van Lierde won Ironman Hawaii in 1996, his win created somewhat of a buzz here in Belgium. Now, I had seen pictures and read articles about the sport before, and I had been intrigued by it, but it was only after his win that I traded my volleyball shoes for a pair of swim goggles, a road bike, and a pair of runners. I had a friend in college who was training for the famous Roth triathlon in Germany at the time, and he guided me the first year until I joined the local Brussels Triathlon Club. Now, my goal has always been to race Ironman, so after graduating from college in 1999, I decided to take a leap year, travel to Australia, train full-time for 6 months, and race Ironman Australia in April 2000. Now, the end result wasn't quite what I'd expected and trained for, but I finished the race and I could call myself an Ironman. After returning to Belgium, it was time to get down to business, and I entered the corporate world. I had some great jobs and some not so great jobs, and I remained an active member of the local tri scene. Like in all the previous sports I played as a kid, I managed to get to a certain level of performance, but it was pretty clear that qualifying for Kona was never going to happen for me. Now, the Ironman lottery was my only chance, so in the fall of 2004, I bought myself a $30 lottery ticket, never ever believing that my name would come up in the first year. But guess what? It did. So after racing the inaugural Ironman Western Australia in 2004 and Challenge Roth in the summer of 2005, I headed to the Big Island in October of that same year for some fun in the lava fields. Now, it was around that time that I first thought about launching my own triathlon apparel brand. I had a pretty good idea of what apparel was available in the market and what I wanted to see improved or do differently. Now, a lack of time, funds, know-how, and guts meant that the idea remained just that for several years. But after losing my day job in 2009, the time was right to give it a go. I started sourcing fabrics, had some prototypes made and tested, found some startup capital, and launched the brand on August 15, 2010. The mission statement was to develop the best and most comfortable triathlon suit possible, using a merino-based sport wool instead of traditional lycra. Soft next to the skin, breathable and anti-static, the fabric keeps you warm when the climate is cold, yet it releases body heat and moisture when it's hot. And the result is a high-performance race suit that can be used year-round, from trail runs, duathlons, and early-season tries, all the way to the hot lava fields of Kona. Now, for about 2 years now, I've been an avid listener of podcasts. Like most people, I find myself spending countless hours in the car and stuck in traffic. I mean, music is great, but sometimes you just want something else, and podcasts are a perfect fit. They offer a combination that is hard to beat. They're targeted to any passion you have, there are hardly any commercials, and they're free. I started with well-known endurance podcasts such as Endurance Planet, Competitor Radio, I Am Talk, and Legends, before discovering smaller gems like the Rich Roll podcast or Tri-Specific's Friday Fat Black. Despite the fact that they're all awesome podcasts, new episodes of these shows are launched only once or twice a week, and most of them go on for well over an hour. Now, with my average commute or jog being around 30 to 40 minutes, that means I often have to stop listening halfway through. So I think there's a need out there for a podcast that's aired multiple times per week, with episodes going for around the half-hour mark. This would ensure that a fresh episode would await me, and countless other listeners that I'm convinced are looking for the same thing, multiple times per week. As I said before, the goal is to interview the fastest, smartest, and most inspiring people active in the endurance world today. I want to offer content that will inspire you to experiment with new training methods, that will help you take your training to a higher level, or simply make you enter that one bucket list race that you've always wanted to do. Today, I just want to thank you again for joining me here at the Endurance Junkie podcast. I truly hope that one, if not all the episodes I produce, will help you become a better athlete. If you find value in this podcast, then please give the show a review and hopefully a 5-star rating. This type of support will allow the show to gain the recognition it needs to reach as many people as possible, and I will make sure to give you a personalized thank you in an upcoming show. Now, I'm sure you're going to love the next episode with current Ironman World Champion Frederik van Lierde. So until then, go get your fix, junkie.